everybody, Mac and I are excited to welcome you to our online video training series on Change Happens. So we are excited about this video course on our book, Change Happens, because when we wrote the book, it's been a couple of years since we wrote the book, and we wrote the book from two different perspectives because when change is a constant, right? Change is a constant for all of us.
One of those things that's always going to be happening.
It's always going to be happening. And I hear so many people who are like, oh, I don't like change. I don't want to deal with change. Well, here's the thing. Change is going to happen. And when it happens, it can either be an opportunity or an obstacle, depending on how we respond to it.
Yeah, and those people who don't like change, they're creating a crazy opportunity for those of us who do like change. I logged 11,000 hours between 2005 and 2012 leading teams through change.
Yep.
I mean, I get a different team every week.
A lot of experience in leading teams.
And a lot of those people, they didn't like change.
Well, most people don't, unless it's our idea.
But the ones who did like it were able to leverage that change, and they increased their influence within the organization.
So really excited to dig into some of these principles. Again, they are so powerful when we apply them, and a lot of times we just don't know or have an understanding or an awareness of the principles that can help us turn change from an obstacle into an opportunity.
Yeah, and what you're going to hear us do and see us do as you go through this series, and we're going to say this a lot, we're going to help when change happens. Some people shine, some people whine, and we're going to help you be a shiner, not a whiner.
Stephen R. Covey says, when a challenge in life is met by a response that is equal to it, you have success. But when the challenge moves to a higher level, the old, once successful response no longer works. It fails. Thus, nothing fails like success. Well, nothing fails like success. See, the thing about that is that we often assumed what worked yesterday, it worked, so we should repeat it, right? That's our assumption. If we were successful at doing it yesterday, then we will be successful if we just repeat the behavior. But that assumes that nothing around us changes.
What we have to realize is as we grow and develop ourselves and we accomplish the mission that we've set out to accomplish, we got to realize we can't become complacent. We can't rest on our success. And you know, I shared with you I logged 11,000 hours leading leaders and their teams through change. And the whole point was to keep them from failing because of their success. Actually, all of them that I supported were successful.
Up to that point.
Up to that point. But if the competition is out there getting better and you're not, you may have been successful today, but you may not be successful tomorrow. And it applies to the individual. Like you may get promoted, you may get an opportunity at work. And then you rest on that opportunity. If you don't, the moment you rest on what you did to get there, you're ensuring that you're not going anywhere else. Therefore, nothing fails like success. Success is the last thing, not going to be what gets you to the next thing. You got to do something else.
So letter B here. Success today is one of the biggest threats of future success. And that's kind of what you just touched on there. Continuing on to letter C, nothing fails like trying to remain the same in a changing world. And that is so true, right? Because everything around us, personally and professionally, is going to change given enough time. And if we just try to maintain status quo and stay the same, but everything else around us is changing and we don't change in response to that, we are going to be left behind.
A lot of times the person who's focusing all their energy on fighting the old instead of embracing the new is the leader.
That's true.
And a lot of times the team is following the leader because the leader's human too. The leader's the same kind of person as all the other people. So a lot of times when change happens, when I was leading change as a consultant, logging those 11,000 hours of change, I share this all the time, but the four greatest obstacles to change in an organization, from top to bottom in order, is the top leader. They're usually the most resistant because a lot of times the top leader is not even getting anybody into like me, like I was a consultant to help lead change. They don't have anybody on the inside leading change, and they don't want anybody from the outside to come in and talk about change. We spoke with someone recently, and they made a comment about they had a lean consultant like what I used to do was going to come in and help the folks. But then the owner of the company found out about it, and he basically canceled it all and said, we don't want somebody coming in here to tell us what all we need to change. I mean, he's a perfect example of a top leader.
Right. Resisting.
Yep. So the top leader is the greatest obstacle to change. And then it's upper management, those leaders who report to the top leader. There's a second greatest obstacle to change.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's middle management.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
Yeah, because it's the leaders.
Yeah.
And then the fourth group, it's not the workforce, it's the frontline leaders, the entry-level supervisors or managers who have the title of some type of being some kind of boss. It's not the people. People are resistant, but when it comes to cultural transformation or process improvements, most often it's not the people. The people want the leaders to do all this stuff, but the leaders won't do it. Any team who doesn't trust their leader, that leader is going to have tremendous difficulty implementing change because there's already resistance. There's just resistance in the day-to-day relationships at work. It's the same way with the leader. If the leader doesn't trust a certain teammate or team members, there's going to be a lot of conflict to deal with just in the day-to-day work experience.
Yeah, trust always slows everything down, right? A lack of trust, I should say. Trust always speed things up when you have trust, but when you don't have trust or there's distrust, it slows things down. The instant change begins to happen, you begin to increase or decrease your influence with those around you because change puts you in the spotlight. Your peers are watching and your leaders are watching. Everybody's watching.
Yeah, so if you are a formal authority leader, that you're like, if I'm a supervisor and Ria's a supervisor, she's watching how I'm dealing with it. She's also watching how my leaders are dealing with me dealing with it.
That's true.
You know, am I dealing with it positively? How are my leaders responding? If I'm dealing with it negatively, how are my leaders responding? I'm watching Ria the same way. How's she dealing with it versus how the leaders are dealing with her dealing with it. But I'm also watching how's her team dealing with her dealing with it. And she's doing the same thing with me. Everybody's watching everybody, right?
Yep.
And so one thing I want you to think about as we wrap up this little intro, just go ahead and plant this seed in your mind. Without change, there can be no improvement. So if you want a better life at home or you want a better life at work, something's got to change.
That's true.
And the number one thing that needs to change for you to have a better life, no matter where you go, is you. And it can be absolutely how you deal with change. I'm telling you this, as an individual, being able to positively and proactively deal with change when it happens is a huge competitive advantage for you as an individual.
Absolutely.
In an organization or even in your family or in society, because most people are resisting change. And so we want to help you shine and not whine. So don't be a whiner, be a shiner, and hope you enjoy this series.